And welcome to Newspoint, our focus at this hour. As the fighting between the rival generals continues in Sudan, various countries have started evacuating their diplomats and nationals from the country. The United States of America and UK on Sunday announced that they had flown diplomats out of Sudan, while France, Germany, Italy and Spain are among other countries who are also organizing evacuations. Let's now take a look at some of the countries that have evacuated embassy staff and the numbers of citizens in Sudan. We start with the United States and the UK. Now, according to the United States Foreign Embassy, they say that there are 16,000 Americans stuck in Sudan. Now, UK says that more than 1,000 people have registered with the Foreign Office. Now, Moscow says, the Moscow ambassador in Khartoum says that 140 out of roughly 300 Russians are stuck in Sudan. Saudi Arabia, which is here, they say that the foreign ministry says that they evacuated 91 Saudi citizens from Port Sudan to Jeddah, including 66 nationalities from friendly or brotherly nations, which include India. And we also have Jordan, which has removed or evacuated about 260 nationals from Sudan. We also have Italy, right here, which the foreign minister says they have removed 140 Italians from Sudan. Other countries include Germany, we have Tunisia, we have Lebanon, we have Egypt, we have Saudi Arabia, we have India, we have Kenya, we have Nigeria, we have Ghana, and finally Canada and Russia. Now, the U.S. Special Forces evacuate all U.S. government personnel and their dependents from their embassy in Khartoum. Now, according to reports, the operation evacuated fewer than 100 people. A newly released photo shows U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken monitoring the operation. The British forces also staged a complex and rapid evacuation of all its diplomatic staff and their families from Sudan. Taking to Twitter, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak paid tribute to the commitment of the diplomats and the bravery of the military personnel who carried out the operation. Meanwhile, Britain's Defence Minister, Ben Wallace, said that the British troops undertook the rescue operation alongside the United States, France and other unnamed allies. Wallace said more than 1,200 military personnel were involved in organizing and carrying out the rescue operation.
Last night, the British military conducted an evacuation operation of British diplomatic staff and the dependents from Khartoum, using elements of 16 Air Assault Brigade, the Royal Air Force and the Royal Marines. Over 1,200 people contributed to this operation. It was dangerous and precarious, but nevertheless we managed to use both C-130s and A400 aircraft to go in, collect our diplomats and their residents and fly out to safety.
A French plane carrying about 100 people also left Khartoum on Sunday for Djibouti, with a second plane carrying a similar number preparing to take off on Monday. The plane also carried the European Union delegation along with some other nationalities. France and Italy have said that they would accommodate all citizens who want to leave, as well as those of other countries who could not otherwise join the evacuation operation. Meanwhile, Jordanians who were evacuated from Sudan arrived safely in Amman. In the early hours on Monday, they landed in Marka Airport in Amman.
عدد المواطنين الذي تم إجلائهم اليوم بنحكي على 343 مواطن أردني، بالإضافة إلى عدد من الرعايا أشقائنا من دولة فلسطين ومن الجمهورية العربية السورية والجمهورية العراقية، وكان لدينا مواطنان ألمانيان قدموا معنا، ونحن كنا منفتحين على أي طلبات كانت تتقدم لدينا، ولكن لسوء الحظ أنه جزء كبير منهم لم يتمكنوا من الوصول إلى بورت سودان لينضموا إلينا.
لا طويل شوي، يعني تحركنا من منطقة في الخرطوم إلى منطقة على بعد حوالي 1200 1300 كيلو، وطبعا كانت هاي التحرك بر، كانت شوي الأمور صعبة يعني، لكن الحمد لله كنا متكاتفين برعاية السفارة الأردنية، والحمد لله رب العالمين تمت الأمور بنجاح.
The Spanish government also said that around 100 people were evacuated from Sudan. According to the Foreign Ministry, the Spanish evacuation managed to take off from Khartoum Airport at 2100 GMT. Let's also now tell you about how India is evacuating its citizens from Sudan. There are some Indian nationals who are among 66 citizens who are from 12 nations who have been evacuated from Sudan. Excuse me for that. Now, New Delhi has sent 2 military planes to Jeddah and a naval ship, Sumeda, to Port Sudan as a part of its preparations to evacuate people. This is according to the Foreign Ministry of India. Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke with his Saudi counterpart about the evacuation of Indians from Sudan. For more on this, we have with us Deepak Vora, who is a former Indian envoy to Sudan. Ambassador Deepak, welcome to WION World is One. Thank you very much. How do you react to the rush by nations to evacuate their embassy staff and not their citizens from Sudan?
Thank you very much for this privilege to be with WION. It's a channel that I watch very closely, and you're watched very closely in Africa also. I'm wearing a jalabi, a Sudanese dress, a turban, and a waistcoat as a tribute to one of my best friends. I spent 5 years as your ambassador, who was killed in the fighting this morning. Habibi, rest in peace. We'll meet again. The good news is that the evacuation of foreign nationals has started even as fighting rages in Khartoum. Some people have traveled from Khartoum, the war-ravaged capital, to Port Sudan, some 700 kilometers north. And the airport becomes functional, Khartoum Airport, now and then. By the way, many parts of this road from Khartoum to Port Sudan were upgraded by an Indian company. Of course, we have to get our people out of harm's way. Saudi Arabia has evacuated several dozen people, including Indian nationals, after External Affairs Minister spoke to his Saudi counterpart. We have very close cooperation with Riyadh in several areas. Sir, you might recall 2015, at our request, the Saudis stopped bombing Yemen for a couple of hours every day for 1 week, and we were able to bring out nationals of 41 countries. The Americans, by the way, have only brought out their own chaps from Sudan. Now, the question here is what are we...
Ambassador, let me just interrupt you there and ask you again the question. We are looking at citizens being evacuated as a second option from Sudan. Some of these nations, including the United States, the UK, have opted to remove their staff members as opposed to their citizens. Why is that?
Well, because they are scared. The last people, the last Indians to be evacuated, and I'm not only talking of Sudan, sir, I've seen this in South Sudan, also I've seen this in Libya, I've seen this in Yemen, etc. The last to leave will be our diplomats, our embassy personnel. That is our tradition, sir. We will first get out the people, our citizens or people of Indian origin who need to go out, and the mission will be the last to leave. Sir, we don't deviate from this. We are not scared. We in the Foreign Service, we are trained to be brave in the face of difficulty.
Ambassador, let's talk about your last point there. The Indian embassy is still functioning in Sudan and coordinating with the citizens who are stuck in Sudan. Why is it important to keep lines of communications open in times of a crisis of this magnitude?
You're talking about lines of communication between the Embassy of India and Indian citizens?
Yes.
Because we are the final source of information for them. We have been interacting with them on the one hand and with the Sudanese government and other authorities on the other. By the way, you talk of the two warring generals, just a little correction. The fellow you refer to as Hemeti, I know both of them well. This guy who commands the rapid response forces, he's no general, sir. He was a camel herder, but now he's, of course, commands 100,000 people. We are in touch with both of them. Both have either studied in India or have children who've studied here or have been medically treated in India. So there's a lot of goodwill. We're in touch with the two fellows who decide the destiny of Sudan. We're in touch with the Indian community. We're in touch with the Foreign Office. We're in touch with everybody, with Saudis, with the Ethiopians, with the Jordanians, with the Egyptians, etc. Wherever we see a possibility to get our people out safely, we shall do so. But I repeat, sir, that our diplomats will be the last to leave. When the last Indian has been taken out of harm's way, our people will then go, if required. By then, who knows, the situation might stabilize.
Well put, Ambassador. Finally, I just want to know from you, being an envoy in Sudan, you know the geographical location of the country or of the land. Many are finding to maneuver out of the country. What advice would you give the staff members and also those Indians who are stuck in Sudan at this moment?
I can't improve on the advice given by my ministry, which is to stay safe. The Indian community there, sir, like the Sudanese, they have a very powerful support system. I know this. Most of the Indian community lives in a twin city of Khartoum called Omdurman. And they are mainly Gujaratis who've been there for generations, plus others. When there is a crisis like this, and there has been in the past, even when I was ambassador there, they have this support system. They send food, they check on each other, they supply water, etc. Sometimes they get together in people's homes for safety. So they will know what to do. And my advice to the millions who might be watching, and if there are Indians among them, please listen to what the embassy says. We know what is happening, and I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, sons and daughters of India, Mother India will reach out to protect you. It always has.
We'll have to end this discussion here. I've been talking to Ambassador Deepak Vohra. Thank you very much for giving WION while there's one time.
Thank you.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.